All right. Okay. Well, we kind of already introduced ourselves, and my name is Nancy Opdahl. And for the class today, I have some pretty cool slides of information, what's happening when it comes to trends. These are trends that not only are celebrities wearing, but nowadays social media kind of tells us what's happening. One of the biggest things that I found during my research is that TikTokers, what they wear in their hair becomes a trend as well. So it's not really about things that, designers or haircut designers used to implicate, or in fact, even brands. You could see big brands in the past coming up with some like crazy styles, and even if that was supposed to be the haircut of the year, not a lot of people wore it because they weren't really haircuts that people can wear. They weren't too, like the word commercial kind of sounds like too general, but in reality, that's what we do in our salons. We do wearable hair. We definitely want people to feel comfortable with what they have. And for us as stylists, when it comes to being able to give that to our clients and we don't really have a background of how to create it, then it can get a little bit complicated. So for some of us, it might become an easy thing to see what they bring as an inspiration and say, oh, okay, sure, I can do that. Or for some of us too, is like maybe it's not that easy and we have to do a little more research. And with the thanks of some of these classes, especially as Laura was mentioning, having a virtual opportunity to watch and learn something that might be useful for you is what we want to bring up to you guys. So this year you're going to be seeing a lot of our ASP Cutting Academy, not only virtual, but we have a hands-on event this weekend coming up. And we can't be more excited to share that with everyone. If you are on the list to come, it will be great to see you. And if not, you'll be seeing some of the looks that we are creating for the spring trends. And because, as you see here on this first page, we have a shag there. I think that this was one of the biggest cuts that kind of like came from 2021. It's now part of 2022, and it's now more standardized than ever. Well, that's going to be one of the haircuts that we are showing for our Cut and Color Collective here in San Diego. So I'm not giving you that haircut today. Today we're going to see the Pixie step by step, which has some of the ideas of the shag. And I think that once you kind of get the techniques and sectioning and the mapping on how to create something, you can always switch those and use them for something else. So today's bangs on the Pixie are very relatable to what the Shag Bangs are. So I'm going to continue to share some more inspirations of the haircuts of this year. So what we're going to see is a lot of familiar shapes, maybe something that we've seen before. Oh, sure, that's a bob. Oh, sure, that looks like a mullet. Yeah, we've seen shags, but now you're going to see a combination of words where maybe it's a mixie, maybe is a shillet. A shillet is a shag and a mullet together. Like I said, I'm going to show you a Pixie. A Pixie is a combination of a bob and a pixie. So the combination of words are what's trending. That's going to be the new thing. So those are the things that we need to catch on when it comes to being behind the chair, because if we don't know it, our clients are going to bring us these inspirations and we're going to be faced with it and not know what to do. So now we can have more of an idea of what's really happening. So a lot of the other things and trends that I found is going to be, if you haven't noticed yet, it's a little bit of a grunge look, but it's more refined. We're going to see middle parts even in a ponytail. So that's going to be a style. Sleek, air dry texture. So how many of you guys are using more of your diffuser nowadays? I know, Susie, you use the diffuser all day long for those curls and undone looks. That's really what we're looking for right now. Shaggy layers. So it's not just the shag, but it's also layers and creating shaggy layers. So maybe it could be a shorter cut, maybe it could be a longer cut. There is going to be new words, and I'm going to talk about this when it comes to the new slides, but butterfly layers. I mean, have we ever heard about what a butterfly layer is? All right, so all these terms you're going to be faced with, and it's just interesting to know that it's stuff that we've seen before, but just with a new name. All right, one of the biggest trends is the bang trend. So we're going to continue to see the shag bangs and the curtain bangs. One cool term that I found for the curtain bangs is called the 70s drapes. And if you can see my little arrow here, she brought that inspiration. She said, I want 70s drapes. Well, thanks to social media and technology, I can research that really quickly and find out what she's talking about, right? But now you can have an idea and know what clients are really looking at. So we have to be more informed now more than ever. Blunt bangs and air bangs. So what are blunt bangs? Right here, we see the blunt. We know those have existed and they're going to be coming in, especially for people that have long hair that don't want to commit to a different type of hairstyle. Bangs are going to be where you're going to be able to create on those clients. And these are the air bangs. So air bangs came from a fashion of Korean haircuts. And in their, what they do is just create what they do it on everyone. So if you look at any Korean hairstylist on Instagram, you're going to find that these air bangs are very popular, and they do them on long hair, short hair, on wolf cuts, and it actually came from wolf cuts. So there was also another show on Netflix that had, and Verly, maybe you can help me with this one, Something Games. It was a Korean show. Do you remember that? Nope. I will remember that. But that haircut, I had girls, 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds wanting that same haircut, and they wanted exactly. Now with that generation, you can't mess around. If you didn't get it right, they're not going to like you, They're going to tell their mom that she wasn't cool enough, or he wasn't cool enough.
Games is the Netflix show.
What is it?
Squid Games?
Yes, Squid Games. There you go. Yeah, exactly. And then TikTok went off with it, right? And then there are all these girls with it. And I don't have TikTok, so I just know about it from my fiance and from the girls that bring me the pictures. Then we can see here that curtain bangs on the top, right? We have these long ones. So this haircut here with the bang trend that I was talking about, butterfly layers, this particular one is butterfly. So it's just lower layers at the bottom and long curtain bangs or 70s drapes. This is the shag bang, and the shag bang is now being blended into bobs as well. Here's a Pixie with bangs. And here's just a layered haircut with bangs. So really the bangs are going to just be something you're going to be getting questions for. And hopefully today, the bang that I'm going to show can help you to create those two in your salon. All right, here's some of the pictures of shag layers. So not just shag layers, but more 70s layers. So now they're not going to be super, super short. They're going to be a little bit longer and a little bit more on a fuller look. So this blonde one right here, this one I pulled out of just a research. This is one of the most asked for right now because it can be worn by not just people that are finding the trend as a very trendy look, but more as an everyday wearable haircut. Here is one of our favorites. So this is Kylie, and she's going to be one of our models this weekend, and she just can rock this shag. She can always rock it. It's amazing on her, and she has very, very fine hair. So in all honesty, this haircut can be worn by all textures. We can see it also in curly hair. And curly hair, because it's just so much movement, you can create the same haircut instead of using a razor with a scissor and create the same type of movement. And there's just more shag layers. This one was more of a bob shag. She came out of, she was normally a shag client of mine, and she wanted to go blunt, so then we suddenly created a shag bob. All right. So here we have a Pixie. The Pixie has really not changed much. If you have clients that have always gone for that Pixie, it's always a classic. I feel that now when it comes to men, it's also very popular. It's more like an angled for a guy. You can see this guy here. He's my client. I mean, he's also awesome. Marco is always up for something new, and he wanted to have more of a shag bang on his Pixie, and he actually comes in and says, I want a Pixie. And he's a guy. He knows that if he says just a haircut, he's gonna end up with some clippers somewhere, right? So honestly, this is just going to be very fascinating to know that you can create a Pixie on a guy. Your Pixie for the age undefined, and I like to call those for any generation. I mean, you can be older, you can be younger, and this haircut is just wearable all the time and genderless. If there's any questions, let me know, Burley, and I can stop.
Good.
Okay, thank you. And the bob. I mean, we know the bob has always also been a classic, but the French bob has come back. So one example of the French is with this one here. It just comes very short to the chin or above the chin, more to like the lip level. And if you know how to make any bobs of any kind, when it comes to the French bob, the only area where you have to be more careful is here at the nape. Because if it's too heavy and it lands like a bubble in the back, then you need to be able to texture. So here's where the French bob with all that texture and undone look is where it's going to be very cool to do it with a razor. If you have not used a razor before, take out some of that bulk and create more movement. Some of the techniques that are going to be on the Pixie are very familiar with the French bob too. So just, take some notes on that. The blunt is also, again, very, very popular this year, 2022. We've seen it, but now it's going to be more of a super straight line, and it can also be angled. No texture at all. This one on the right is Amanda. Amanda created this one, and you can see that it really has no layering, but it still has a texture. So this gives me the idea that she probably created some texture underneath so they can still lay straight and blunt, but with movement. Because if the hair is very straight, we will not be able to get a wave like this if we don't create some type of texture underneath or interior. All right, the texture also, again, very popular, continues to be popular. I think once you get a bob and if it's straight and you get a curling iron, your clients will be super happy to have variety in their look. And then the middle part on this one is very popular. Here I have another one of my clients where she loves the Shag Bangs, and we do it on her, and she has an asymmetrical bob. So all of these, again, the 2022 trend is not the haircut itself, but the combination of them. Okay, here's a wolf cut. The wolf cut was popular last year. And what I believe that in my research told me that it was because of just watching more of what was happening in social media. A lot of girls just coming in and bringing their hair to the front and chopping it up. And then it gave that layer on the top. So really your wolf cut is going to be, it looks like a shag, but it has a heavy layer on the top. And that's really what makes it the wolf cut. Also the layers that flare out at the bottom, they come from like chin down and also from above the nose to about the chin. So when you create those layers and a very heavy layer on the top, that's really when you're creating some type of wolf cut, whether it's on a shorter level or on a longer. Oh, sorry. Here on this one on the top, she's been having the wolf cut for a while and it was longer, and maybe on my Instagram there's a picture of her, but now she went for a shorter look. So here's this one. Here's what I was talking about, the Korean air bangs. This wolf cut she wanted it more heavy in the front with more layers in the back. And this one here with the glasses is my niece. She's super into Korean and Japanese animation. So if you have clients at this age or this generation that are looking for that, the wolf cut is really what they want, and they just don't know the name. This one also with the color of the pink, very Japanese animation inspired. So here I have some more ideas that will define a wolf cut. It can be short, it can be long, it can have bangs, it can have air bangs. Some of them look like the octopus. The octopus is actually really heavy, almost like a bob, and just the feathers flowing down. The reason why I didn't pull up more of those images for you guys is because I didn't see them being really asked for in the salons, but just with the idea that you can make a wolf cut and just really thin out the bottom, you can create an octopus look. Curly. Curly is also going to be very popular more and more. And I mean, Susie can tell you she does only curly hair, and you're going to start seeing it more. People are embracing their curl. And the reason why I'm not giving you too much on this is because in June we have a live class. So hopefully you can log on to that and see more of the curly trend. See, I'm teasing already, so it'll be fun to have you all back here. All right, and now we're gonna get more into those combination names. So the mullet and the mixie. So the mixie is the mullet pixie. We also hear the mullet hawk. We see the skullet. The skullet is a mullet with the sides shaved, so it's a skull and a mullet. And then the shillet, as I mentioned, is the shag and the mullet together. These are some of my clients. I just feel really lucky anytime I have my clients asking me for something like this, because I definitely love to create these textures. And what's cool about this is that all of these haircuts are customized for them. So if we see here in the middle, and Sarah has like a really super sharp face, we can definitely go a lot higher and show off her face more. Linda, I have Linda here on both of these because she changes the haircut slightly. We always do Pixie on the top, and we do some type of, we call these her triggers on the sides. We never leave them because she's always safe with those. Those are like her safety little zones, and very popular right now because they are very kind of part of the mullet. And then the back, we either change it and create a big arch in the back, or we just leave it in more of a mullet. And here's Marco again. Marco this is his latest style, and it's just more of a mullet with texture on top. All right, now we're gonna get into the Big C and the Big C. So general description is a softer customized version of a pixie. So the combination of a bob and a pixie, before I continue to read that, it really is one of the haircuts that is being asked for more and more because it's becoming kind of a sexy look. So for girls that were growing out their pixie, this is the way to go. And for ladies that are taking their bob in a shorter length, it's now more of a pixie. So really you have the variety. You can either have your clients growing out their pixie or bobs going towards a pixie, which it will be the combination of both, which is the pixie. It's a blend in variety of length. It can be customized with a fringe. It can be long, it can be short, it can be definitely more bobbed if they really don't want to stay away too much from the asymmetrical here at the cheek level. It opens up the face, so it's more wearable. If they want to wear it to the left or wear it to the right, it will definitely have a variety because of the texture we're creating in it. So you'll definitely see that because that's what we're doing today, step by step, so you can watch all of that. And also in the undefined textures, that one falls into the curly. So there's a lot of my clients too. So this one here in the middle, she has curly hair. When this goes back to her hair texture, it's just super scrunched up, and she just blow dries the bangs, and they just kind of have that air bang flow on those. Here has a shag bang on a big C, and then here we see more varieties. All right, so this is more of what we're going to create today is the bang pixie. And I'm going to show you the sectioning for this particular look. And then we're going to get straight into cutting it. And I'm going to stop sharing. So if you need to take a picture of the sections, go ahead and take a picture of the sections. All right. I'll wait just a few minutes. And I sectioned her already so we can see exactly where the sections go. So I like to always play with a client's facial features to know as my reference where I'm going to take that. So I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. And if you have your gallery view, go out to speaker view. I know that Kristen already explained that. Okay. All right. And I don't see myself on my own speaker view. Huh. Okay. 1 second. So okay. All right. So here we have our sections. Can everybody see that? So we saw that our sections we saw a line coming from the end of the eyebrows. So when you look at your client, every client is going to be different. So if you were doing this haircut on somebody that was 13 years old, her face might be a little bit smaller, right? So by going by the sections, by her eyebrows and sectioning it out on the person, every haircut will be personalized and it's going to be more to that person's face. So pay attention to that when you're doing your sectioning. So if you have a male, they definitely have more of a wider face. So always make sure that you're sectioning to the person's face. So here we have a section on the top. It goes from end of the eyebrow to end of the eyebrow, and it comes to kind of a horseshoe in the back. And that gives you a definition of where we're going to leave the top section. The side sections for a pixie or a bob, I always like to come in right behind the ear, and we section off these two here. And in the back, we're going to see two wide sections that come from top of the ear to the other top of the ear. This is going to focus on leaving me some of this hair that we know all clients have more of in this area. And we're also going to be working on the part that is right at the nape area. The nape area also can get heavy, and if we don't pay attention to the person's hairline, it can be a little bit of a mistake by not following their hairline, because a lot of them have a hairline that can be very pronounced, and that will make sure that, like, if you're using a razor, make it softer, leave it longer. And if they have a shorter squared nape, then you might want to bring it a little bit shorter so the neck can show more. So definitely pay attention to all those things when you're doing your clients. I'm just going to spray some water here. And I'm going to
If you have somebody with super thick hair, would you section that off into, like, split it in half again?
Absolutely. So that's a great idea. That's a great question. So you will keep your sections the same, exactly the same. And when it comes to subsection, you're going to take smaller subsections. So we're going to talk about that. Thanks for that question, because it is extremely relevant to what we have. And a pixie or a big C with too much hair and not taking out enough texture will probably not look like what you're expecting it to, so that is really important. So I'm going to tilt her head slightly low. To move back a little bit, right there. So looking at the back of her hair, I always like to kind of like eye map where I'm going to start. So I'm looking at right underneath the section. I'm placing my comb right in the middle. So you don't have to do inches. You don't have to do too much of a, you don't have to get too technical, because if a client has a bigger head or a smaller head, it's going to be based on their head. So we're kind of thinking that this girl has a lot of hair. So I'm going to take sections about this width, which are the size of my comb. Take a middle section and push everything else out of the way. I'm going to spray her hair with Mode Miracle Mist. So Mode has a lot of benefits of styling as well, but it also gives me a nice glide when I'm using my razor. Okay. And with my fingers, I'm holding this section down. Is it a little bit dark there, guys?
It's not really dark. I feel like it might be too bright.
It's what? Too bright?
It might be a little too bright.
Oh, so then I made it brighter now? Let me see. Is that better? No.
It's better for me.
Okay.
What does everybody else think?
Can we get a thumbs up if it's okay with everyone? Seems a bit dark. Okay, I got a bit dark. Let me.
Yeah, people are saying too dark.
Too dark. Okay, so it could be your screen, right?
It's probably my screen.
Okay. All right, perfect. Is this a little bit brighter, guys?
Too dark.
Too dark.
Much better.
Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, all right, so we hold down this section. And with my razor, shoot, I see in mine that it's a bit dark, but if you can look at your section, you're going to be looking at it from where the section starts to the end of the hair. And if my section is going to end right about, maybe about an inch below the nape, I'm going to hold my fingers there. That way, with my razor, I'm stopping the razor with my fingers. And with my razor flat down, I'm going to create a texture, 1, 2 on the top, 1 underneath, because what do we know about the nape area, right? And the neck. It always flicks out, and we really don't want to have a little mini mullet. We really want it to just be a pixie. Here I go again. 1, 2 on the top, 1 underneath, and then start to cut. And I have her a little bit crooked for me. So, and leave those little baby hairs because this is what's going to make it fresh in you, okay? All right, so if you had a client that had a lot of hair, you might want to make this a subsection as well. So placing your comb here, but I'm just going to grab the entire section for myself. Bringing it down. So what do we also know about the corners of the hair? If the client doesn't have a lot of hair, and most people don't, if you hold it and you make it a round section, you might be wiping out too much hair at the beginning. So what I like to do is I like to create a square perimeter to make sure that I have room for making that a little bit rounded later. So I'm holding my section with my fingers low, and it's a little bit square. So 1, 2, or how many times you have to create the texture. Take the hair out underneath, 1, 2, and then start to cut. So you can see now, see the hair going in? It's going in slightly. That's because of the texture that we're creating underneath it. If we were creating all the texture on top, this hair will be flicking out, okay? All right, so now that I have more of a square perimeter, I'm just going to create the same on the other side. Okay, fingers and 2, slice underneath, 1, 2, and then we cut. Okay.
So we can see over directing that section towards the middle to get your square shape. You're actually not over directing it to the middle, you're over directing it to the next section. So that's really important too, because if this was over directed, I'm going to get longer sides. But to create a square line, all I'm doing is over directing it to this very last section, which is the very last piece from your previously cut piece. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna make her more straight. So that's basically what we have right now, right? So it's a little bit still bulky, it's still a little bit squarish. So to create the Pixie going up here, now we're going to go back to the same sections. This is now where we begin. Holding out those sections, starting from the middle, there's going to be that little point right here that is making it too bobbish. We're going to go ahead and take that off by creating an angle that is elevated. We hold the next section, and I am over directing everything back. So if you look at the mannequin, all sections are being held back. Not this way and not over directed, but straight out of the back. Okay. Now I hold my next section, being careful not to whack too much of the sides. I'm just going to get rid of that little corner. And then on the other side as well. Okay, so now it starts to lay a little bit flatter. And we want to keep these corners here until we get to the top section. Any questions on this section? No.
If you wanted to do this on curly and you need to use your scissors, following the same process, just using your scissors, going down instead of straight, yeah? Still looking for that live model for the curly hair. It's gonna be a shorter one, so hopefully we can find her and you guys can see that in June. Alrighty, dropping the next section on the top. It was a U section, so knowing that I have the safety of keeping this part right here just a little bit more bobbish, it's the important part of it. So when you're coming to the middle again, always starting from the middle, because from the middle, if you're right-handed, you're probably going to lean to the right. If you're left-handed, you're going to want to start cutting this way. So always start in the middle. Section the width of my comb. I come and bring it down. I hold this section in an angle. Again, I don't like to define an angle. So yes, we remember that this is a 45 degree. If that's how you remember, then that's what you might want to do. So just always remember that more of a freedom of cutting is just allowing the hair to be angled to what you're working with. So here's my angle. And the reason why I'm only calling it an angle is because if I create a 45, it's going to be low here. But when I'm picking up my section underneath, I want to be able to match this. So I'm holding it, oops, okay, with my texture. So this is giving me already movement and giving me the length that I want. So I'm bringing my section underneath, two slices on the side, two on the other one on the top, and one underneath, and then I cut. Okay, now I have the length and I have the texture that I'm looking for. So I don't need to come back if I don't have to create more of that texture. And now you can see how it's starting to roll and coming a little bit rounder. Okay, you create that from, like I said, if you're right-handed, you're probably leaning to the right or to the left. Okay, going back to the next section. I'm dividing this section into two because once you have too much hair, you want to be able to control that. Bring this down to an angle, pick up your section underneath, two on this side, two on this side, one on the top, one in the bottom, and cut the length. Again, you can start to see this coming down. So a Pixie really is not that short. So a Pixie will be a lot shorter. A Pixie, you probably go in with a scissor and then you finish with a texture shear and then you go back again and now it's dry. So with this technique, you can take care of both things at the same time, the length and the texture. Okay, holding it back, again, remember all my sections are going straight out from the ear back. Grabbing this section. If you're facing your client and your client has her back towards you, then you're just standing right behind her. Again, careful that I don't take too much of the texture from behind the ear. I'm only going to do once here, one underneath, one on the top, and cut. Okay. You can see that little bob effect, but the hair's shorter. So there we have our combination. Okay, next section. This section is thinner, so I can hold the entire section. Okay, here we go. Going to hold it angled, bring my section underneath, one on the side, one on the side, one on the top, one underneath. And because my fingers haven't moved is why I know that I'm cutting there. Okay. From that angle, you can start to see the roundness and slowly becoming more pixie. You can see all that texture from all angles, yeah? Awesome. Okay, perfect. Now that we cut these sides, now we can go and feel free about customizing the areas right behind the ear. So now I can hold this section and make it a little bit more angled and bring it up a little bit closer so it's going to join coming this way. So holding it where it's at, I'm just going to create a slight little
cut to the corner so I can get more of a softer feel here, so I can get rid of that bob look. Here on this side, I'm going to get up so I can show you guys. It's just this little corner. So pick your corners, be able to have a visual, come in, get that corner out. Alrighty. And now you're just doing this. All right.
Everybody
So
is saying how much they love this so far.
awesome. Very cool. I swear this is going to be so useful for so many ways. Thanks, guys. All righty. All right. Now we're going to move to the sides. And I normally like to drop both because then I can get my visual clearly from one side to the other if I was using my mirror.
I love how the Miracle Mist just gives you that really nice slip to the hair, and you spray it once and then you don't really have to go back and wet it down again.
I know, yes. No, yeah, this is actually, you guys, thank you for that comment. Yeah, you guys can see that the Miracle Mist is kind of giving it a little bit of a style too.
Yeah.
Perfect. I can skip the dry on today. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm going to start with my right side. Okay, I like to subdivide this section even if it looks like it can be done in one. But the reason for that is because I want to be able to expose the ear just a little bit. So I take, again, another section, the same width of my comb. I bring it down, and you can see it's going to land right above the ear. Very important, because if it is a Pixie shows a little bit of the ear, or at least that perimeter angle. And with this, remember, Pixie has the shape of a the shape of a bob. So here's where we're going to get a little bit more bobbish. I'm not over directing everything to the back, but I am over directing to my previous section, okay? So maybe that's a note you might want to write down, is with this haircut, you are not over directing towards the back. You're over directing always to your previously cut section. So I'm over directing slightly to my previously cut, and I always like to hold them up so I can see. All of these are air connected. Can we see that, guys? All right. Holding it back. So I'm basically standing right in front of it, holding it back, 2 slices in the front, 2 slices in the back, placing my fingers again where I want to stop, and then just cut. Okay. Take that section again. And now you can hold it down and get rid of some of that part of the edge. There we go. This one here is going to be cut straight down.
If you wanted more texture, could you do 3 swipes on top?
Yes, if your client has a ton of hair, you can do this all day long. Yeah. In fact, this area right here, right, where we have the roundness of our head, we carry a lot of hair. All right, so now we can start to see this shape. This is still going to have a little bit more of a final look, so we're just going to leave it down like that. But just so you can see, I want to show you the texture that it has from creating the razor part of the cut there. Okay. So you guys know what's funny is that a lot of my clients already have a Pixie, or a lot of them are growing it out. So in order to show you guys really the creation of this haircut, the best way was to show it on a mannequin that had longer hair. Because if I didn't have enough hair to show you where it's going, you probably wouldn't be able to see the angle. So I'm just really happy that this client has the length that I want in order to show you guys what I'm trying to do here. All right. So here we go back to the next section. We go to that section right above the ear. Just so you know, I'm holding it and angling it back, right? So I'm going to switch her. Oh, no, I can't do that. Right there. I'm going to move. Okay. Holding it, grabbing my my section previously cut. 1, 2, 1, 2. Then cut. Then taking that and cutting it straight. And then grabbing that section and cutting it. Okay. Okay, and surprise, surprise, they're the same length. And the reason for that is because starting in the middle and going from one side and then coming to the other side, it's going to let you end in a symmetrical way. So there you go. All right. Here's what we're going to do now on this section. So with my texture shears, I like to use my 14 teeth. Ooh, there we go. Okay. I'm just going to come in and hold the entire area of the roundness of the head. And you can start really anywhere you want, but I'm going to start where I can see the heaviness and just take it out, straight out of the head. And you can get rid of this angle here. Just free form. So it's not too rounded and too bobbish. And then leaving this piece in the front. Okay. Coming to the back. It's just that corner. That one was heavier.
What's the benefit to doing this with your texturizing scissor over a razor?
With the razor, I already created the texture beneath it. Right now, I just want to take off the edge. I could use my regular scissors, but as we know, that's going to give me like a super straight, heavy line. So with my texture shears, I'm able to leave this very, very airy and more pixie-ish. Yeah. All right. Perfect. All right, now we're going to drop the top section. Any more questions on this, guys? Those were all amazing questions, by the way.
There's
Nothing
else
yet.
in the chat at the moment.
Okie dokie. All right. Now we're going to drop the top section. And again, looking at the client's head, placing my comb at the top of her head where I find the curvature of the head, right here, I'm going to create my fringe section. And it's just going to be a U section. So always place your comb, then your finger, then your comb again, and bring it up to a round section. I'll show you what it looks like once it's done. So a Pixie or a Pixie right now, they are very popular with bright colors. And if your clients are not up for the bright colors, definitely a root shadow, because then the texture starts to kind of like come from an area wherever they want to part their hair. And for this color, if you can see the depth of it is 5.44 with 7.43 in converter, 1:1. Okay. And on her ends, I use Hot Shots, and I use aubergine, I use burnt copper, and sand blonde. So I can get just this beautiful kind of like, I don't know, I don't even know if it's like a strawberry almost. Yeah. All right. So now that I have this section on the top, pretty heavy, pretty big. Yeah. My favorite part of this haircut. So every time you cut a fringe, and this is my best advice to you, is that you subdivide this fringe into two. Because what happens? If your client thought, in any fringe, by the way, If your client thought that you went too short, if you subdivided and you left some of the hair on top, you have this to save you. So now you have a subsection in the first one, in the hairline, and then a second one that you can put away. And now this fringe is also very large, so it also helps with distribution of the hair. All right. So, yep. Perfect. So I'm going to bring her up so I can start cutting her fringe. All right. So I'm going to make this fringe just kind of fall in the center so we can move it to the left or move it to the right. You come to your client's face, you find her nose, and you place your comb right in front of her nose. Whether she wants to go shorter or longer, you can define and ask her questions like, do you want it to fall at the bridge of your nose? Do you want it to land underneath the nose, lip, chin? You know, once you start here, you have all these facial features that she can also identify with. So I come into the front, right in front of her nose. I want it to land right on the bridge of the nose. Okay. Section this out. Small piece, doesn't have to be too big.
What kind of bang are you cutting?
I'm sorry?
What kind of bang are you cutting?
The Shag Bang.
Shag Bang.
I'm calling it Shag Bang, yes. And the reason why I'm calling it the Shag Bang is I haven't found any other word for it. But it is very customizable and it can be worn with long or short hair. And that's the reason why I wanted to create this bang, is because if you're not doing a pixie tomorrow, but you're doing a shag or you're doing a bob, you can still use this fringe. Okay, so here's my section. Holding it straight and down. The razor, again, we were going to use it on the top and at the bottom so we can create a layer that comes over the forehead. So I'm going to move a little bit. Alrighty. So I'm coming in, creating the texture from the eyebrow to the tip of the nose. And I know I want to end shorter, so 1, 2, 1, 2, you can count more. She has a lot of hair, so then keep coming back to the top. And now I'm going to get ready to cut at the nose and then bring it shorter in a minute. Okay. Again, the reason for it cutting underneath is so my fringe can do that. Yeah? Okay. If I was just cutting on the top, I wouldn't get all this texture. But what do I get by cutting on the top? If we want to curtain bang them or flick them a little bit, that texture I just created can also go out. I can flip it over, and then she has a cute little bangs there. Okay?
You can actually see that even on wet hair.
Yes, exactly, because the texture is being created in the hair. Yes. All right. Moving to the side, another small section here. You really don't have to have a set. Like, you can grab the whole thing if you want to, but just for purposes of teaching it, I'm grabbing smaller sections. And here we start to come, and now we're going to over direct. So over direct towards the middle. And I'm going to join just this corner and angling my fingers and bringing it slowly down. And now these are still too long. I'm going to bring them shorter. And now I come to the next one, over direct it. Okay. Now you can see this if this was a longer haircut, how it starts to create just that flick and that wave right on the top. I'm going to cut it a little bit shorter as we move on, but I'm just showing you this part of the bang. Now we move to the other side. Over directed, top. over directing it. Alright. So this could be your bangs for any type of texture, wavy, curly, straight. And now with my scissors, I'm going to come and modify this area. Okay. Coming into the middle. With my scissors on the top of the section, I'm going to cut right to the middle bridge of the nose. Next section. Coming from this little section, you're just taking off those edges. So now you have a base basically. And now you can just come in and take off those quick edges. I'm not sure if you guys can see this very much, but okay. But you still have your base of what you created there, yeah? Okay. Coming back here, my angle. My best way to do it is holding my hand this way. Here's a little piece, and just getting rid of those long pieces.
Nancy, this is still your first subsection, correct?
Yes, yes, which is the coolest part because, like I said, if you went too short, you can save yourself by saying, oh, no, we're still going to cut the top. It's not that short. Okay. All right, before I move on, I want to take some of this hair here. You can see how it's still a little bit heavy and it's creating a sort of a rounded look right here. So I'm going to hold out my texture shears again, the 14 teeth, and just bring in slight pieces from the top and air it out all the way. I always like to leave them heavier because as the hair dries, either she needed that hair to be there or you really need to take it out because it's getting too bulky. So our recession area, people, you know, even myself, I don't have a lot of it. So if I take out too much from here, I lose it all. So very important to personalize this area here. Okay. Now we bring out the top section and we bring it down. And this part right here, I'm just going to cut it in one section with the razor, pinching it, holding it down. Can we see that? Just one whole piece. Coming from the top, coming and looking at the very middle piece, and with my razor on the top, just taking it off all the way. All the way. If I wanted to save it, I would definitely leave this longer, right? But I feel like my bottom part was just perfect. All right, and I just join that part and it just creates this really cool feathery look. And when the hair dries, we're going to start to see how it dries a little bit more. All right, top section. Before we drop it, you can come into the top and create a section right in the middle and divide that into two. So now she's parted in the middle. Okay, as you see the distribution, it should be very, very light. Okay. With our razor again, this is going to be just walking around the client and just customizing it for the bottom. The bottom is all your haircut. This is just going to be your final piece. So we're just puzzling together. So we come to the back of the head. Here are her ears. I'm standing right behind her. Grabbing this section grabbing my underneath section. I'm going to leave this just a, maybe that's just a little big. I'll show you guys.
Almost like a pinwheel section then?
I'm sorry?
Is it like a pinwheel section?
Yes, we're going to be pinwheeling all the way around. All right, holding my underneath section just as an air visual. And 2 on the side, 2 on the other side, 1 underneath and 1 on the top. Okay, I'm going to just start to leave it that way. And then I'm coming to another pinwheel. And right behind, like right in front, right? I don't want to be over directing anything at this point. 2, where's my underneath? Top, bottom. So here's where you can just start to freeform it, work a little faster if you like. I am a fast-paced person, so I like to kind of just see it gone. Okay. Sides, right in front. Underneath is going to be the sideburn. Top, under, top.
Love it.
She's looking so cute.
It is.
So for those clients that tell you they want something easy, they don't want to style too much, and that's really where they say easy is they don't want to style too much at home. So this is just a great haircut with air dry texture.
Yeah, even if you just spray a little salt spray in there and
Yes. Yes, and I'll show you the products I'm going to use today that are going to like really be a perfect combination for a hair texture like this one. Salt spray would be perfect. Okay, so I will probably give it more personalization once she's completely dry, but I want you to see just how really like this texture by combing and bringing it this way. You can see the flick here. You can see the texture underneath it. You can pull the little pieces to the side and towards the face. All right, you can see this top section right up here. It's a little bit bobbish and textured. Okay, so definitely an air dry look. And I am going to apply a few products. Hi, Jen. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no worries. All right. All right. If you wanted to, holding the section on the top. Awesome. And taking off some of the points on the top of the head. Yay.
Nancy.
So perfect. Some of these points on the top of the head.
Yep, there we go. I was gonna say we can't see the top.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah. So you can remove some of those. Again, I wouldn't use regular scissors. I would just use my texture shears. And freeform too. So here's a little guide right from the back. So just take out those hairs without too much looking at the client. If there's some corners, take out those corners. The other side. To the front. Bye. Sorry, someone walked in.
Have a good one.
Too kind, thank you.
All right. So she is even a little more textured and I love it. Okay, okay. So yeah, because now she has all that volume on the top, right?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So for my finishing, I'm going to spray her again just a little bit with water just so I can get some of those damp areas. So refreshing your Miracle Mist can also give you a little bit more, just like a reactive type of, with the water, you're just reactivating your product. And I'm going to use Dream Cream from Mode, about a nickel size. I'm going to spray it with Kitoko Texture Boost. This will be for thinking about a client that has, so spray 2 times on my hand. I'm not really emulsifying it too much because I don't want to break up that texture. So it's just lightly letting it glide with my fingers and bringing it in. Always important to bring in your product from the bottom up so she can get very light application when it comes to the front. Okay. Alrighty. And really, I mean, if she didn't want to do too much to this haircut, she's definitely ready. But I like to comb in the product as well. Very similar to what we would do if her hair was wavy or curly. I like to just make sure the product is in there. And now, so I'm going to be making some noise with the diffuser, but it is important that you see my hand movement. This is more like hand manipulation and hand styling. So just looking at my fingers, that way that's going to be our language for the moment that I'm blow drying, so you can actually see my fingers and my hands, all right? So my diffuser, not too high, not too low, so the middle. On the heat in the middle on, I don't know if you can see the button, oh sorry, right up here. And holding it first on the top, grabbing that fringe, picking it up here. You can see that because it's above the nose, it automatically splits right in the middle. So bring it up like this, diffuser. Finger twist. Volume, finger underneath. Picking out these guys out, finger. These areas here, down. So wherever you want the hair to lay, volume, pick it up. Bottom, lay it flat. I am moving my fingers like this to create the fringiness. If it burns your fingers, your diffuser is too hot. And you don't want that, right? You just want to style it. So it's very low. Pick it up for volume. It looks like she needs a little more product, so just a little bit of Heat Defy. Heat Defy has about 1 in styling, so it's not going to get hard. It's not going to create anything crazy. It just gives support. Volume. Shaking it again. How's it looking?
Fabulous.
Cool, yay. Awesome, thanks Julia. Pizza pie. Okay, so I don't bore you with the drying this entire time. What I'm going to do is just apply some pomade, and I'm going to use a Texture Perfect. And it's a soft clay by Kitoko. I put a little bit on the top of my hand, okay? This way, you can work your way around. This way, you know how much to apply. So I use a little bit on my fingers. So this is pretty much like my artist palette, if you might say. And you just start to come in and piece it out. This can be shorter if you guys wanted to. I just kind of love this fringe, the way it's long, the way that you can actually move it if you wanted it to another side. So if you wanted a side focus, she can have that too. So the texture is already in your haircut, so you really don't have to apply too much, but it's just for definition. Okay, also, I move it around my fingers and I come into the top if they have really fine hair. And this is really like an application I really like to use on short textures because they feel that their product weighs it down. Well, if they don't apply it correctly, then this is not going to hold it, right? So we need to apply it where it's needed. Okay, and in the back, oh, the back is so cool. So it's really important to really take that shape of the head when you're doing this. So right around the roundness, she gets tons of volume, tons of texture. All right, she looks like she's done, guys.
Amazing, Nancy.
Awesome, thanks guys.